Three, two, one again. One, two, three. One, two, three. That's how elementary it's going to be. Good afternoon. Hold on. I got to get fake going, YouTubers. Good afternoon to ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, moms and dads, childrens of all ages. You are watching Living on a Thin Line with Tony Vicich. I am the aforementioned Tony Vicich. I'm trying to get myself situated here so I can give you a high quality production, kind of high quality production that you're used to if you generally watch our show. We come to you every day at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time or Arizona time, however you want to look at it. Arizona doesn't do daylight savings time. Hello, Tina and Mike. Hello, Randy. We're back. We took a day off yesterday. Since we started this little podcast, broadcast, internet, radio station transmission, we've taken a total of 2 days off, both being Sundays. One, because we were on the road, not far, just going from one area to another out here in southern Arizona. And then yesterday, because I was just wiped out, man. Just wiped out. It was time for a break. I know when you're watching this, go, damn, he just makes it look so easy. And you know what? It kind of is, but it kind of isn't. There's a certain amount of prep, and you build your day around it and other activities that you're doing on Zoom and the internet and in your front yard and backyard. And I just needed to take a little day off. So I beg your indulgence for that. But we're back now, and we'll be back with you every day this week at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And, of course, Saturday night at 7 p.m. And, of course, Sunday we'll be here at 2 p.m. And I will have put together by tonight a Sunday night Tony Vicich Presents. Sunday Night's Funnier on Zoom for your watching and listening pleasure. This is your daily reprieve from all the anger, anxiety, weirdness, and hoopla going on in the world today. It continues unabated, nonstop. The virus is spreading, I think, for those of us who took social distancing and wearing masks seriously, especially in the first 2 or 3 months, thinking, by God, we will get the R naught down. If you don't know what an R naught is, I'll explain it later. And be able to resume normal activities, are a little upset that many of our fellow citizens didn't take it seriously. And now the United States is damn near number one in infections. So it shouldn't be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. Maybe it took a lot of people getting sick and a lot of people who were with us in March, at the beginning of March, not being with us now, for other people to take this seriously. I certainly hope they do. I want all of you to stay alive, safe, sane, happy, healthy. I want you around for a long time to come. I would like to be around for a long time to come. And the way we're going to do it is by safe social distancing, wearing masks, and thinking about the well-being of others. We have to think about the well-being of others. So anyway, we're playing it close to the vest right now. I hope you are too. This show is built around three things primarily, and that is interaction with you, the audience, as you leave questions and comments on YouTube or ComedySchoolsRadioNetwork.com or on Facebook Live. I share with you some little bauble or trinket or memorabilia that I have laying around here in the home office, and sometimes can weave a little story around it. Thank you, man. Thanks, John. Love the hat. Yeah, it's North Carolina. I got this hat. Let me tell you where I got this hat. There's stories behind everything. Way back in the early 90s, early mid-90s, I was directing a piece of theater in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is true. My good friend Rich Scheidner wanted to do a one-man show, and a guy named Brad Greenberg, who was a pretty major comedy booker throughout the Southeast, throughout the South and the Southeast, decided to bankroll it. And we did it in a bar nightclub in a hotel in Charlotte. That's where we did the play, the one-man show. And I directed it and helped them put the whole thing together. We were there for 3 or 4 weeks in Charlotte, North Carolina. Of course, the Tar Heels, et cetera, being big there. There was a lot of memorabilia around. And I picked myself up a North Carolina hat. I have had this hat since 93 or 94. It was notable for me for a couple of reasons. It brought me back to directing theater, which is something that I loved and haven't done very often since. I've done it a couple times since then. Directing and producing theater. It was a one-man show. It was Rich Scheidner's one-man show that eventually became The Adventures of Canyon Man. At the time, it was titled by the producers, Every Man is a Hero. I helped with the stage design, set design, the writing of it. Rich wrote it, but helping him, move the words around properly. We did it there in North Carolina. It was notable for a couple things. It was notable that I was in North Carolina for like 6 weeks. And during that time, my other great friend and mentor from that era, Bill Hicks, passed away. So the hat has sentimental value for me. And every once in a while I put it on. I don't wear it around a lot because it's got faded and dirty. And I try to wear a new hat when I go out. But it's one of many hats I wear. And we have it on today. And there is a story behind it. And I've had it for a long, long time. Hey, a couple things coming up real quick. If you're still interested in doing more stand-up comedy workshops, and I don't know why you wouldn't be, because they're fun and they're interesting, they're engaging, they're exciting. And if you're sitting out there going, I'm not a writer, I'm not a comic, I'm not a comedian, you don't know what you are sometimes until you attempt something. You could get weird with that, I guess, but that's not what I'm talking about. You don't know if by spending a few weeks, Judd Dunning is from Highlands, North Carolina. Judd, I did not know that. Judd Dunning, who was kind enough to take my class many years ago in Los Angeles and has remained a friend at a lot of different levels ever since. Hello to you, Judd. Hello to my neighbor. I'm not going to say which one you are. I don't want people to, if they ever, decide to pick at me, that they don't pick at you as well. My neighbor. Anyway, you should try it. Wednesday nights are advanced class. If you have previously been in the class and go, damn it, I want to jump in, it's class 2. I can get you caught up on what you missed in class 1, get you on your way, do a live Zoom show in August. If you're in Phoenix and everything's working out okay, we will have also a live in-person show. Got that going on for you. If you've never done it before and you want to learn the structure of how to write, rehearse, and perform, Thursday night's your night. Thursday night is class 2. But once again, I can get you caught up on what you missed in class 1, get you on your way. Go to comedyschools.com and click either beginning class or advanced class in order to pay, register, and get your Zoom codes. Hello, Kevin Brown. Such a diverse audience we have. I love it. People from all over the country, from all walks of life, right here, right now, all the way from my childhood up to my most recent friends and throughout my life. So one of the things we do is memorabilia, where we talk about things, everything old, making it new again. So I would like to make something importantly. This is important to me. What I'm going to share with you right now is incredibly important to me. I want you to listen carefully. Okay? So many voices out there screaming about so many things important. So many major shifts and changes going on. So many people telling you that this is the most important thing. Here's what's important to me. I want you to know right now, unequivocally, without a doubt. Hello, Champ. Hello, Oris. And I will attest to this in a court of law, and I will stand by it. And I don't care what it does to my career. I don't care what it does to my personal life. I don't care what it does to my marriage. I don't care. I do not collect bobbleheads. Got it? I am not a collector of bobbleheads. And anybody who claims that I'm a collector of bobbleheads, then I take umbrage. I take umbrage. And if I was in front of you, I would throw down the gauntlet or the glove, probably like right now, like one of those ugly plastic gloves. And if I threw it down, I'd pick it up because I don't want to litter while I'm trying to save myself from coronavirus. I do not collect bobbleheads. Anybody who claims I collect bobbleheads is a liar. That being said, here's our latest bobblehead right here. And it's an Arizona Diamondback. By the way, the Arizona Diamondbacks are on my team. The St. Louis Baseball Cardinals are my team. But I live in Arizona. So somehow, inexplicably, I've ended up with a lot of this. Arizona Diamondbacks. This is a good bobblehead. It's part of a collection you can hook together, and I've got 2 of them so far. This is, and it's from D-Backs Reward Fries. So it was Fries, which is a grocery chain out here, was probably having a Fries promo giveaway night, and the first X amount of people got bobbleheads. It's a very good bobblehead. Look at the head bobbles well. These bobbleheads are interesting, and I'll tell you why. Because on previous bobbleheads, or the making of bobbleheads for a long time, the heads were bigger heads. And then sometime in the last few years, they started making bobbleheads with smaller heads, making them a wee bit more anatomically correct, but not actually. All right. Now, this is Mark Reynolds. Mark Reynolds is a storied and much loved Arizona Diamondback broadcaster. I think he was manager for a while. Maybe you can tell me, or at least a coach. And also a two-fisted drinker and a party animal who was constantly getting himself in trouble. So many athletes get themselves in trouble in Arizona. We talked them into moving here because of the tax situation. It's kind of a fun place. And then there's an area called Old Town Scottsdale that is just chock full of nightclubs where the wealthy and ASU co-eds hang out. Starting to see the picture, starting to get it. In Old Town, and many of our most storied and fabled athletes got busted for drinking when leaving bars there, including Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley, who was obscenely honest about what he was doing the night he got pulled over for drunk driving while leaving a bar in Old Town Scottsdale with a young lady. And they asked the cops asked him what he was doing, and he says he was taking around a corner to get a BJ. This is Charles Barkley said this. Okay, they're taking around the corner, and she's going to give him head. And he said, do you know her? She's known for being the best one in town. He said, she'll do it for you guys too. The police were nonplussed, and they kind of ruined Charles's evening. I don't know if he ever then was able to re-engage with the young lady. That part of the story has not been shown, not been shared. But Mark Reynolds was not busted, by the way, while attempting to engage in a sexual act with a woman in a car. But he was arrested for, I think he's a couple times for drunk driving. But a hell of a guy, party animal. Glenn Roman says, never been there. I was in church. Sure you were, Glenn. You were looking for the church key. Kevin Brown says, Tony, there's no power in denial, but an extreme amount in acceptance. Acceptance in the power of bobbleheads. No, Kevin Brown. No. You know, I got to be honest with you. There are people here that know me, but they haven't talked to me in a long time. And if you people start spreading some sort of false rumor that I'm a bobblehead collector, what will their children think?
But
what? Now the producer's chiming in. What?
If you ever see a Mo.
By the way, yes. And I will not order them on eBay. I got to find them in a thrift. CB for BJ, Kevin Brown. There we go. Charles Barkley for, yes. If you ever see a Mo from the Three Stooges around, I have Larry and Curly as a bobblehead. I do not have Mo. Kind of hard to get. Okay, but I'm not going to order these things. That way lies madness. Only while I'm out. There's a couple of thrift stores around town, and when the wife and I go into town for supplies, to get gingham and some sourdough and some yeast and some seed and corn to plant, so we can grow our crops, and we're doing that. And we go to a grocery store. Sometimes we will pop in masked and gloved up and look in thrift stores, and damn it, there's a lot of bobbleheads. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, I don't know if there's someone out there who's in such a dire straits financially that they're selling off their bobbleheads. And I certainly hope not. I would hate to think that the few bobbleheads I have, not a collection, the few bobbleheads I have, that I'm able to get them because of someone else's misfortune. I don't think that's the case. Although, remember this, if you ever go to Goodwill, you know what? The better the neighborhood, the better the Goodwill as far as clothes go. Do you know that? Like if you're ever in Sedona, like Judd, I know you like going to Sedona. I used to go to Sedona a lot. My wife and I went to Sedona so often and hiked around there so much. And I went hiking with my daughter up there. We've been there so many times. Then we started doing other stuff up there. We found a Goodwill in Sedona, and they had incredible shirts and pants and out suits. You know why? Because a lot of stuff you get Goodwills from dead people, and the people who die in Sedona are rich. So you got a lot of rich dead men's clothes. Whereas if you go to like a Goodwill out here where I live, what you got are like a lot of overalls, coveralls, and pants with holes in the knees, but not those cool ripped pants that rich Scottsdale girls wear. All right. I've gone on enough about bobbleheads. And I've given you a good tip about Goodwill shopping. Okay, like if there's a Goodwill anywhere near Santa Monica or Beverly Hills, I'd go in there, man. You're gonna get some cool stuff there. Okay, but don't go in one by, like probably where Mike Lawson and I grew up. If there's a Goodwill out in House Springs, what? It might be some cool stuff in a Goodwill in House Springs because you got a lot of people there who've collected things over the years. By the way, if you're ever going to buy like an old 1950s car, what you want to do is you want to fly into a place like Oklahoma or Arkansas or Alabama and rent a car and go drive around the back roads. And I guarantee you'll see some car from the 50s sitting in the front yard for sale. If you're ever looking for cars from the 50s that you want to refurbish, or some of them don't even need refurbishing, okay, don't go on eBay. You'll get ripped off there, or Car Guru. You'll get ripped off by thousands of dollars, a lot of people say. But get in the car and drive through the back road to Oklahoma, Tennessee, Arkansas, Alabama, any of those places, off the main highway on the back roads. And you'll come across farmhouses and little homes that have been there for 100 years. And in the front yard, oftentimes, is a great 1956 Chevy or 57 Ford or 59 Chrysler. I owned a 58 Chrysler once, push button. I've owned 2 push button automatic cars in my lifetime. I may be one of the few people that can claim that. All right. Look, I've just given you a lot of good tips. Think what I can teach you about comedy. I've given you tips on how to buy classic cars and good clothes at Goodwill. And let's see. Tina and Mike say they steal out of the Goodwill box before they can collect it. True story. By the way, when I was a teenager in the 70s, there's no place for teenagers to go. So we would all gather in parking lots. A whole bunch of us. It's common. I think they still do it. You pull up, you got 5, 6, 10 cars. Everybody's out. Turn on your radios or stereos, or in those days, 8-track cassettes. Everybody's passed around a bottle of wine and maybe a marijuana cigarette. I'm not advocating that for young people. I'm just saying that how it was. And in Hauser Springs, we used to gather sometimes up by the post office, but oftentimes across the street with the Greasy Spoon, otherwise known as the House Springs Cafe is. And there was a Goodwill box there. And one night, real high, I decided to see what was in there. And I kind of fell in, because they're up high. I climbed up and I fell in. And it came out. And I found a really cool winter coat. And that was the winter coat that I wore for a good part of my senior year. So I don't know. You stealing from Goodwill? People are giving it. First off, Goodwill is a for-profit agency. It's not a charitable organization. Man, I hope now that I don't know, so I get a letter from Goodwill going, based on your statement and what we would have been able to retail that coat for, you now owe us $914. I will deny it and say that this was all fiction. All right, let's get to the music, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to the music. I'm going to cover, a lot of times I cover like weird offbeat bands and singers or stuff that maybe you wouldn't normally listen to. The whole idea being that if I share it with you, that you'll then YouTube it and listen and tell me what you think. Today we're going to go big, at least big for my generation. Matter of fact, this band recorded the song My Generation, and it's The Who. The name of this album is Meaty, Beady, and Bouncy. Meaty, Beady, and Bouncy. And I'm sure it meant something to Pete Townsend and Keith Moon. And on the back, we have the young men in the prime of their... First off, in the front, we got them as little boys. Just as little boys. All right? Whether it's actually them as little boys, I don't know. I kind of think... Yes, it is, as a matter of fact. You can tell by looking. There they are. And it's like they're looking at themselves as little boys. And on the back, kind of cool, it's them as then grown young men and the little boys looking. Like, whoa, and this is a great album. This is a great album. I think it's a best of album. Meaty, Beady, Big and Bouncy. Meaty, Beady, Big and Bouncy. On Decca. That was the company that pressed it. Side 1 is I Can't Explain. A lot of their major hits. Okay, The Kids Are All Right. Happy Jack. I Can See for Miles. Pictures of Lily. And of course, Generation. Meaty, Beady, Big and Bouncy. You're right, Fred. I did correct myself, but you were right. And thank you for that. My Generation, they had written because they were there was two distinct teenage groups running the streets of London at the time. There was the Mods and the Rockers, and the Who were Mods. You saw when we first saw them when they were young and first on television with the frilly shirts and the sort of Edwardian look. So they were Mods, and then the Rockers. And the Rockers did whatever the version of amphetamines that were around at the time. They did a lot of them, and they stuttered. They stuttered because they did so much speed. And my generation, when he goes, things do look awful cold, they're actually making fun of the Rockers and the way that they stuttered. So there's a little story about that. Also on side 2, Anywhere, Anyway, Anyhow, Anywhere, Pinball Wizard. A stunning and massive hit. Legal Matters, Boris the Spider, and The Magic Bus, Substitute, and I'm a Boy. Ba, 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 da, ba, da. I will tell you that the song Substitute, my first time I ever heard it was by a local band in St. Louis called The Extremes. They played at a teen dance club that I hung out in House Springs on the weekends when my parents would let me. And they did a single pressing, a 45. They went to some studio there in Fenton, Missouri or something and made a 45. And one side was their song, The Facts of Life. That was their song. And side 2 was their version of Substitute. I didn't realize it was a Who song. I didn't know it was a Who song. So there you are. Big deal album. Best of. Got a cool inside, I guess, of their neighborhood. Of course, 2 of the people that we're seeing here are no longer with us. Of course, Keith Moon and hell, I forget the bass player's name. That's what happens after you die. And he died flagrant. He died engaging in the same activity that Charles Barkley was trying to engage in when he got pulled over by the cops. A lot of people don't know that. So, but that's why people got into rock and roll. That's why people got into acting. That's why people got into showbiz, was to have fun. They seem to be they seem to be sucking the fun out of it right now. It's not a good time to be old because if you get coronavirus, you get very sick. But I don't know if it's going to be young because everybody's so. We're going through a new Puritanism right now. This time, it's the one time that I will complain about something near my side from the left. The new Puritanism is coming from the left. The words you say, the actions you engage in, the attitudes and ideas that you have. When I was a kid, we were just coming out of that horrible era where artists' lives were destroyed for being friends with communists or having attended a communist party in the 1930s or anything at all, and their lives were ruined and destroyed, and there were suicides. And later on, there were movies done about it, and people like Rod Serling and Kirk Douglas fought against these terrible blacklists against people because of their political beliefs. We're now in a new one, and now it's based on maybe some ideas that you had or statements that you made in the past that don't jibe with a modern ethos. Glenn Broman says, when I was growing up, I had the Muppet movie soundtrack. There's a lot wrong with that sentence, Glenn. First off, you said, when I was growing up, that would then lead us to believe that you have, and I know you and you haven't. And you know what? By the way, never do. Never do. You're a fun guy just as you are. The next album, a big one, a monster, okay? A soundtrack for a generation. For some, the words in this album become as important to people as for some words in the Bible. Whether that should be or shouldn't be, I don't know. The man who was the leader of this group, the titular leader of this group, at one time said that his band was more popular than Jesus Christ. They caught a lot of flack for that. He was just being honest, saying right now we're more popular. We're talking about John Lennon. We're talking about Imagine. This album was the soundtrack and the belief system for a lot of young people for a very, very long time. Imagine. The song Imagine, which is a beautiful, dreamy sort of ballad, piano-driven tune that kind of laid out a manifesto for belief. With great songs like Give Me Some Truth. I'm sick and tired of hearing things from uptight, short-sighted, narrow-minded hypocrites. And you could say that about people who are attacking people for the words they say now. Oh My Love, great love song to Yoko. How Do You Sleep, which was his attack on Paul McCartney, because he was a vicious son of a bitch when he felt like. How? Oh Yoko, once again, a love song to Yoko. Of course, Imagine, Crippled Inside, him talking about himself. All right, Jealous Guy, once again, a love song. It's So Hard, which I don't really remember that well. And I Don't Want to Be a Soldier, Mama, I Don't Want to Die, which of course was an anti-war song. Those were the songs on Imagine. This was an album that blew up and became a staple. You had to have it in your house. Like when I was a kid, in almost every adult's house in my family, there were two things. There was a portrait of John F. Kennedy and a Bible. A portrait of John F. Kennedy and a Bible. For my generation, for a long time, in everyone's house, sitting prominently in front of their record collection, was John Lennon's Imagine. Stunning piece of work, showing the evolution of him as a writer. I have a personal connection to the album Imagine. If you go to ComedySchoolsRadioNetwork.com and you scroll through, you'll find an interview with a man named Shelly Yakus. Shelly Yakus is a wonderful human being who I became good friends with when I was working on a project in North Scottsdale about 10 years ago. And Shelly is a legendary sound engineer. Matter of fact, he was Jimmy Ovine, who produced Tom Petty and Stevie Nicks and so many other great artists. And then actually helped usher in the gangster rap era when he partnered with Dr. Dre. Shelly Yakus was the house engineer. If you hired Jimmy to produce your album, Shelly came along with it. Stunning engineer who worked with a lot of great people. Shelly Yakus, very dear friend of mine. We do have an interview with him on ComedySchoolsRadioNetwork.com. Fun guy to talk to. He was one of the sound engineers on Imagine. So I got to talk with Shelly Yakus what it was like to work with John Lennon. And he said that everything that we think about John Lennon was true, that he was a nice guy. He had a great sense of humor. He was a perfectionist. On this album, on the back here, look at that. Remember that apple thing? All right. One side is all the lyrics. On the other side is all the people that worked on the album. And it lists out the sound engineers. Here it is. Engineers. I got to find it here. Right here under sound engineers, it says sound engineers, Shelly Yakus, sleep. Shelly Yakus, sleep. That was John Lennon's nickname for Shelly Yakus because they would put in so many hours recording this album. I don't know if you know what goes into recording an album. Maybe you do, but they will, artists will put in hour on hour on hour and day after day and week after week and month after month to make a group of songs on an album. And they were putting in so many hours that Shelly would actually just sleep at the recording console. And one time, John Lennon walked in and goes, "Oh, what are you doing? Sleeping on the job?" "Yeah, Shelly Sleep Yakus. That's your name now." And on the back of this album, and on the inner sleeve of this album, is Shelly Yakus. By the way, you should Google Shelly Yakus. Stunning career, and wonderful and nice guy. Worked on the last film project that I did 2 years ago. We filmed it at a recording studio in Los Angeles. The investors still have all the footage, and I'm waiting to see what they're going to do with what I shot. There it is, Shelly Yakus, Sleep. So that is my personal connection to John Lennon, my 2 degrees of separation from John Lennon and the album Imagine. And I feel pretty cool about that. I have no connection to The Who, except I really enjoyed their music. Okay, we're going to wrap it up for today. Hello, Bill Kirkenbauer. Good to see you. We're going to wrap it up for today. We'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. with more stuff. What did we talk about today? We talked about The Who's Meaty, Beady, Big and Bouncy, kind of a best of album. Great album. John Lennon's Imagine. And we talked about that I am not a collector of bobbleheads, even though I showed you my latest, which is Mark Reynolds right here. All right. Every day at 2 p.m., we are your daily distraction for all the anger, anxiety, hoopla, and weirdness in the world. Here at Living on a Thin Line with Tony Vicich. Yes, Glenn, his office was cool. I love y'all. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.